So the basics of how AI works is it's about breaking things into pieces that the computer can work with. So AI in general is a really broad term, and honestly it typically is more of a marketing term than a technical term, because there's so many different aspects in the technology field about what AI is. But when we're talking about AI, typically what we're doing is we're talking about a non-linear way to explain something. Typically that means when we talk about linear and when we talk about a standard way, then what we would write is an if statement, for example. And what that means is either 1 or 2. You know, when we ask a question, it's either one way or another way. There's usually only 2 options, or maybe there's 6 options, but they're fixed options. But with an AI tool, typically we're not looking at a fixed set of options. We're guessing which option is the most likely. So it's about probability. And that's kind of the biggest difference between AI and non-AI, is that with AI, we're looking for probability. So we'll say most likely, this is the category we're looking for. So the reason that we do that is because not all answers are definitive. And when they're not definitive, that's where AI really helps us. So we take that and we break that into all the different components of AI. Machine learning is one component of it. And in machine learning, we use models to predict the most likely answer for things. Like, for example, it could be a classifier. Is this a bottle or is it a can? That would be a type of a classifier, and the AI tool would respond with a probability of 85% likelihood it's a bottle, 15% it's a can. And so then we know, oh, this is probably a bottle. So that's the difference. The main thing that AI is providing for us is this probability, or a way of solving problems using a probability rather than a definitive set of answers. So in the shipping industry, AI is used in a lot of different ways. Sometimes we use natural language processing. Sometimes we use it for receiving and reading documents. So that's one of the really common ones is that we'll try and take a document, for example, like a proof of delivery document or a carrier invoice, and we'll take that invoice from the carrier and we'll turn that into something that your TMS can use. So for example, a carrier bill comes in, and that comes in via email. An AI tool can take that email, read that there's an attachment, figure out what shipment it belongs to, extract the amount from that invoice, and then match it up with the amount in your TMS to make sure that the auditing of the invoice matches what the quote was from the carrier. Once those two things match and we have a good shipment, then typically we can help automate more of the workflow. So that's one example of how AI is used in the shipping industry. So I think one of the biggest drawbacks of AI is the fact that it's such a broad term and it's used in so many different ways that it can be difficult for somebody to understand and to say, well, for example, how do I implement AI in my business? And if you asked me that, my answer would be, I don't know. There's so many different ways to implement AI that there's no direct answer to that. So that's one of the challenges, is making sure people have an understanding of what AI can do for them. And one of the key ways to do that is to talk with the customer, or talk with you and find out what problems are you facing and what AI tools can be used to solve some of those problems. And sometimes those tools have a very difficult barrier of entry. So for example, with Microsoft's Watson product, that type of a product generally requires some work to get it up and running and so forth. So sometimes you'll need somebody to help out with that and bring that product further along so it provides some value. Sometimes you don't need that type of work. It really just kind of depends on what the AI product is.